One of the really cool things about doing photography in these YouTube videos is all of the really awesome people I get to meet. And just the other day, I had the pleasure of spending the entire day shooting with a young man who came down all the way from Wisconsin. His name is Doolin. Doolin, thank you so much. I had a great time with you. And he just sent me this in the mail. How cool is this? It says, "Thank you so much, Mark Smith. You are my hero." That's totally awesome. And Doolin, I think you're really gonna like this video because it takes place at the location where I took you, or one of the locations. And for everyone else, wait till you see how crazy things can get in one tiny spot in Florida. Come on, let's go check it out. Sunrise. Those awesome few minutes when that giant ball of fire fills the land with amazing light. This is the perfect time for wildlife photography because this is when all the amazing animals start their day. Down below, a cute little marsh hare is busy eating some sweet succulent flowers, and as you can plainly see, this little bunny has quite the smorgasbord of food. A few meters away, a small alligator has a very different idea of what makes a tasty breakfast, and this reptile isn't thinking about flowers. High above, 3 cormorants take interest in a small pond, but what could be so interesting to them? Could it be these beautiful hooded Mergansers who appear to have something wrong with their heads? What exactly are these silly birds doing? It looks like these are all boys, but let's see if we can sneak a little closer and get some shots. Here's one of the beautiful males now. Wow, take a look at that head. What an amazing looking bird. But where are the girls? Ah, there's one, and she's a beauty too. Another male flies in to join the boys, and we get a good look at those incredible feathers, but it appears as if this group of ducks has spotted me. We lock eyes, and I get ready for them to take flight. These little beauties aren't comfortable with me sitting in the reeds, and the obvious change in their posture can only mean one thing: they're all about to go. And in a split second, the once calm, serene water is now alive with the sounds of water, feathers, and wings. I lock focus on the one remaining duck who decides to join his friends, and I manage to grab a beautiful in-flight shot as the duck passes by the vibrant reeds. I move my camera to the skies and capture a few more shots of these amazing ducks as they fly further back into the wetlands. I take a few steps back and something amazing catches my eye. A large group of egrets stand waist deep in the pond, and the morning breeze ruffles their feathers. But from this angle, you can only see a few of these amazing birds. Let's try a different angle. There, look at all of these amazing white birds. There must be 50 of them, and they're all huddled together, and amazingly, they seem to be getting along just fine. I wonder why there's so many of them here in this pond. There must be a lot of food. And then I notice a large group of wood storks with their heads deep in the water. This is how these birds catch food. They just wait for a fish to swim through their open jaws, and then bam, they quickly close their beaks. I notice that these birds are lined up in front of a concrete pipe that connects this pond to a much larger pond. I've got to take a look inside. Oh, wow. Let's pause this. Okay, perfect. Look right here when the video starts back up in 3, 2, 1. All of those white spots are fish, and they go all the way to the end of the pipe. Let's go take a look at the other side and see what we can find. No, you have got to be kidding me. Look at all of those fish. And they're not trapped here. These fish are hiding from all of those birds. That is absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Now we know why there are so many birds here. Fish is on the menu. And the fish start small, with this beautiful tricolored heron catching a tiny minnow. But then a familiar sound brings my eyes to the sky. And that sound is the chatter of a belted kingfisher. It comes flying in like a bullet and spots something in the water below. It instantly falls out of the sky at an amazing speed and comes crashing headfirst into the water. I managed to capture the entire event, but the kingfisher missed its target, which is good for me because the wind blew a small group of reeds right in front of my lens, giving all these shots a soft green color cast, and I wasn't real happy with them. But the kingfisher wasn't done. It took to the air again and spotted yet another target in the water below. This time, I moved away from the reeds, and everything worked perfectly. The kingfisher emerges from the water with a nice fish and quickly flies off to my left. I fire away and capture the entire series of this awesome little bird with what appears to be a baby largemouth bass. It flies up and over the reeds and disappears on the horizon. I'm sure there's an old dead tree branch somewhere off in the distance, and on that branch is one happy kingfisher. A gorgeous pair of sandhill cranes has shown up to join the fun, and it isn't long before these two amazing birds are jumping and dancing about. And speaking of dancing, these two great blue herons are about to show us a different type of dance where they fight over who has rights to fish in this section of the pond. It doesn't appear that there's any contact, and the great blue heron on the right shows us just how easy it is to walk on water. Absolutely incredible, but as luck would have it, that fleeing heron ended up flying right towards me, and I grabbed these amazing shots of this large, gangly-looking bird coming in fast. The great blue heron pushes up a huge wall of water as it puts on the brakes, and of course, this amazing bird lifts its head into the air as if to say, "I'm meant to do that." A great egret comes in with a much more gracious approach, and in this shot, it appears as if this elegant bird is standing on glass. The early morning light is just perfect, and the lack of wind makes for some really nice reflections as this female northern shoveler duck comes sliding in on the surface of the water. It's amazing to think that all of this action is happening on this same small pond. And speaking of action, let's move on to the star of this show, the incredible Osprey. Do you remember all those fish hiding in that pipe? Well, there are still plenty of those fish in this pond, and a group of osprey are having a great time pulling those fish from the murky waters. Our first osprey comes in for a head-on approach with its big meaty talons ready to grab anything under the surface of the water. It crashes into the water and the surface explodes, sending water high into the air and the bird deep under the surface. In the next shot, things start to clear up, and a closer look reveals the osprey's head right in the center of the image, completely buried under a wall of water. That's just crazy. And this attempt was unsuccessful, but our osprey quickly spots another fish and dives right back in for another try. This time, the catch was a huge success, and I mean that literally. In fact, it looks like this osprey is having a hard time getting out of the water. And from the looks of that fish, I would say that this osprey has captured a huge largemouth bass. The osprey starts to get some lift, but the weight of the fish drags the bird back down into the water. The osprey has to make a choice here, and this bird chooses to abandon its catch. Strike two for this bird that has already worked far too hard. The osprey isn't going to give up yet. It can't. It needs some food to recoup all of the energy it has already spent, and that can only mean one thing: back into the water. This time, things are different. The osprey has captured a nice-sized tilapia, and it clutches it with one talon as it makes a break for the skies. It heads up and out towards the far end of the wetlands, where it will happily sit and eat its well-deserved meal. But this is the wild world of nature, and these osprey are not on the top of the food chain here. The osprey has been joined by two other birds high above the wetlands. Two eagles, one adult and one juvenile, have appeared from out of nowhere, and they're not here to welcome the osprey to the wetlands. The more experienced adult eagle puts on the speed and passes the juvenile. Once again, the poor osprey is presented with the choice: drop its fish and flee with its life, or hold on and hope for the best. The osprey chooses life and drops its fish. The adult eagle swoops in, catching the dropped fish in midair, and the osprey, exhausted from 3 unsuccessful hunts, slowly makes its way back to the pond. Meanwhile, the eagle soars high right past the moon and lands in a group of pine trees about a half a mile away. From here, the eagle can see the entire wetlands, and it's definitely watching what's happening in the front pond. This time, 2 osprey show up at the pond. They're getting smart. Hunting in a group will ensure at least one bird gets a fish. The first one takes the plunge and it wrestles a huge fish from the water. This fish must weigh a couple of pounds, maybe more than the osprey itself, but somehow the bird manages to pull it from the water and fly away. Half a mile away, the eagle drops out of its pine tree and comes screaming in fast. The second osprey drops out of the sky and hits the water, and it pulls out a huge fish as well. It takes to the air as the eagle closes in. Those osprey are smart. Working in pairs has completely confused the eagle. It isn't sure which osprey it should chase. Instead, it comes screaming in close to the pond and terrorizes all of the birds that have been quietly sitting on the shore. Look at them all. They see death from above as the eagle slowly turns, never taking its eyes from the crowd of birds below. The eagle makes one more pass over the pond before returning to its post in the pine trees on the other side of the wetlands, and it isn't long until the ospreys are back again searching for more fish. At this point, I almost think the osprey are trying to outdo each other because the fish keep getting bigger and bigger. Look at the size of this fish. That's just crazy. The wind has changed directions and now the osprey are flying away from me. I quickly run to the other side of the pond in hopes of getting a head-on shot, even though I'll be shooting into the light, and a huge cloud bank moves in and it cuts down all the harsh light as an osprey dives in and comes out of the water right at me. It misses the fish, but talk about awesome. Look at that bird all soaking wet. Another osprey drops out of the sky, and this one gets a fish, and it too comes flying right at me, giving me this absolutely amazing shot. Just like the phoenix, the amazing osprey rises from the water and takes to the sky. Absolutely insane. This bird will go down as a legend in my book. The cloud bank slips away and I make my way back to the other side of the pond, thinking there can't possibly be any more action, but I'm wrong. I look to my left and the eagle is practically on top of me. In my excitement, I had completely forgotten about this big bird as it comes in right over my head. It was so close, I could actually hear the wind passing through its feathers. And while this shot isn't the greatest, it'll give you a good idea of just how close that huge bird was. It disappeared over the tree line, and I'm sure it's over there somewhere attacking an osprey that has worked so hard to get its food. I'm about ready to wrap it up when yet another osprey shows up on the scene. I stand below this amazing bird and ready my camera for yet another dive. The osprey, completely oblivious to my presence, drops out of the sky and readies its talons for impact. It pulls a gigantic fish from the water, and then it comes right at me. Time slows down as the shutter on my camera opens and closes, capturing these pieces of time and turning them into a series of images I will never forget. The osprey continues flying right towards me, and at the last minute, turns proudly, showing me its monster-sized catch. You win, magnificent bird. You are the most incredible flying creature I have ever had the pleasure of witnessing. Hats off to you, my friend. So what did you think of those osprey? They're absolutely amazing birds. Did you have a favorite image or a favorite sequence? If so, let me know in the comment section below. And if you'd like to know how I've set up my D850 for birds in flight just like these osprey, I've created a quick start guide. You can find a link to that in the description below as well. And I'm super excited to announce that I'll be doing a wildlife workshop in the beautiful country of Costa Rica in November of 2019. That workshop is already filling up very fast. There'll be a link to that in the description below as well. And until next time, I'll see you later.